a bit more balance in the spaces. Does that make sense? Just kind of want to keep spaces a little bit balanced. We're not really done though with this. So this is we're talking register now. We might want to make that bold. Okay. And then let's work a little bit on the top. We might even have space to put in course description. Who knows at this point that now we made space. So I wasn't able to completely keep with this design. That wasn't really very good either, anyway, because I had more detail, more information. So I had to change it a bit, but I'm okay with that. I'm thinking no client would mind that I made it a bit better. So anyway, and now we have to do this. As you see, it's all put in different font sizes and colors to kind of help. Now, what we haven't used yet here in ours is color. And I kind of like that the title of the doctor, right? Let me undo that. The titles of the doctors are not only bold, but blue. We didn't put this little instructors thing there. I'm trying to see what else is here that we might want to copy. Yeah, just font color. And yeah, you don't want to bring any new font colors that are not part of it. So I like that idea. So I'm going to grab Dr. Munir Keshi. And I'm going to go to, since I selected text, and you know why I need to select text now? Because it's not the whole box that's going to be blue. This is when you leave the selecting text to. When it's a portion of that, I didn't make another box for his name. I have him in one text box. So now I select that and I go down to my Vet Flyer blue. And then I'll go over to this one. And I'll go to my text and go choose my Vet Flyer blue. Okay. Might make them a bit more bold. Had I made them bold already? I thought I had. They don't look so bold now in this color. It's semi-bold. Maybe I need to go with bold. Yeah, I think I need to go with bold. Semi-bold was a little bit too soft. Okay, so there we go. I just noticed that instructors thing. So we might need to move this over. We might need to move this group over here and put the instructors thing in there that I didn't have. But for now, let's work with this first, and then we'll leave the instruct space here for the instructors. This is what I mean. That thing that I had forgotten was there. Okay. So let's give this a nice title. The date is very important to understand what's happening. So here we go. Let's this one start by making it blue to the text, back to Vet Flyer blue. And then yeah, definitely I'm gonna go with maximum bold on this one, and I'm gonna make it quite a bit bigger. If text disappears, like it just disappeared from me, it just means that my box is not big enough. And remember, this little red thing is the only thing I always need to keep an eye on, because I might not remember, if this is not my text, I might not remember that was something under there. So you have to select each box and check. But there's another giveaway to tell me that something's wrong here, which is down here. I am seeing a big red box that says one error, not so big, but a big red dot that says one error. So if I look at this and go, I don't see any errors, I don't see any errors, you can go out here, click on this, and open the pre-flight panel, and it'll show you the error. So I'm going to go and say where. It's in the text, overset text, and I'm going like where? Oh, on text frame 1. I can just double click on this, and there you go. It took me to the frame that's wrong, and I'll go, oh yeah, I see that. There's a little plus sign. So I'm going to drag this out, and where comes the rest of my text? There it is. Okay, and I'm like, I just needed more space. Does that make sense, you guys? I will have more, again, in the newsletter and stuff. Of course, I'll have much more time to explain to you about this pre-flight panel, but I know some of you guys already know about it. Saul, for example, I think maybe you know about it too, Moni. So I was just showing it to you. Just look down here and make sure that it's green and says no errors. And if it is, it can point out things that you might not have visually noticed. Okay. This, I'm going to go ahead and call this bold. I'm thinking here there's a badly placed return. So I'm going to click on in there and hit return. And yeah, somehow endo-ent, endoscopic aided visualization and interiorization. So maybe here what we need to do is hit a return on learn more about endo-ent. And then maybe have that there again. This is weird. Learn more about endo-ent, and then they describe what ent stands for, right? Is that what endo-ent stands for? Or is it another? Learn about endo-ent and about endoscopic aided visualization. See, by not knowing this, this is when you need to call the client and go, is this a description of that? Should this be between parentheses or something? Or is this learn that and this? I have a feeling that endo-ent means this. So endoscopic, endo, ent, which is the end. So this whole thing is called endo-ent. You know what I mean? In which case, if that's so, you could have this be down here, maybe smaller and italicized, kind of like that's what that stands for, you know, something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm going to guess and say that that's what that stands for, right? And I hope I'm right when Shelly sees this, right? Because otherwise it's this long ass description that, oh, let me just see what they did. Enhance and discuss the dance intervention ear and nose. Oh, I don't have that text. That's not what. Oh, that's the second one. Improve outcomes. Yeah, she just has this one long line there. And yeah, I think I think this is different. I think I don't maybe even need to make it smaller. Maybe I can just have it be the same size, but I want to have it separate. That's better. And then this is the big old headline that we haven't worked on yet. So I'm just kind of working on anything a little bit. You guys can work on it on your own. You have different font than me, but I'm just showing you kind of how I'm working through it. I'm going to make it all quite a bit bigger. This is the whole, you know, big thing that I'm trying to vet endo-ent. Maybe there's human endo-ent, I assume. That's why it's called vet endo-ent. I'm going to go with bold, and maybe I'll just change this one word, the vet endo-ent, to blue. I don't know if that would be too much. It looks like all this needs to be bigger. Oh, stop whatever you're doing and watch for a minute. This text box now, when I go look at the size, it gives me no size. Why? Because I have two sizes in the same text box. So it goes, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to go. So if I do change it up to one size, so if I now make it all 14, everything takes 14 again. See what I mean? You just got to be a bit careful with that. So if not, you need to sub-select. So yeah, I might want to make this one a tad bigger. 14. And then this we had originally made smaller to 10 points. Maybe we don't need so much space on all that. Maybe I can make it 11 points. Make it a tad bigger. Go up to 11. That helps, but I'm already beginning to go out, but I have more space there. 11 points between 11 and 10. There's quite a difference, believe it or not. Okay, so this is horrible. When you have a second, look up, because I'm going to show you something that's absolutely horrible. This here, the way I just made it, see that there's one little word at the bottom? That's called a widow. You never want widows in a paragraph. It looks tremendously bad. So you just look at it, right? So if this is exactly where it needs to be, you definitely need to edit a word or two here and there. And if not, you need to kind of keep working with the box a bit and see if you can get it to pop in like right there, right? But don't ever leave widows, like one or even two or three words here would have been widowish because it's such a wide paragraph. Begins to not be a widow if it's about half as long as the paragraph. Does that make sense? You need to not have a little kind of hangy thingy there. Now this is not good, what I did to fit that little widow. So maybe I need to go to 10.5 points. I went to 11, 10.5 is not a choice automatic, but I can write 10.5. So that gave me a little bit more to work with. And ideally you won't have, in a flyer, you won't have hyphenation, but no matter what you do, you have hyphenation, then you can turn off hyphenation as a choice. So let me go back to, where do I turn off hyphenation? I think it's in paragraph styles. Nope, no. That's when I haven't created styles. Guys, if you take the newsletter and the Digital Magazine, we're going to work with styles, which is so powerful. You're going to love it. It's a whole nother but I mean, for one flyer, it's not worth it, but it's really powerful to work with hyphenation. Okay. Not hyphenation, to work with styles. So I'm still thinking of that. I need to make sure that we do hyphenation. And so then I'm not telling you that, but yeah. All right. So I'm going to go over to type. Maybe it's under object. I don't remember where I take off font, size, style. Turn off the story. Okay, I'm gonna Google it. And the power bar. There it is. So we go to select the text box that you don't want hyphenation on. And then at the very bottom, the paragraph bar will be like under where we choose the font size and stuff like that. You see paragraph. And to see all the paragraph options, click on these three little dots, and then you can just turn this off. So do not hyphenate is what you're saying. And then you don't allow for hyphenation if that's off. Now, let me explain to you guys why I don't know where things are a little bit. Not that I'm trying to excuse for myself, but I am surprised at how many things are in a different place because I work with InDesign, not in the essentials mode. I work with it in the one I've used all my life, which is Essentials Classic. And then I have all my choices up there. And that I like. It's to me, it's so easy to use. But what's happening both in Illustrator and InDesign, they're taking this out because it was redundant. There's stuff here that then is also here. And so basically this is supposed to be a better beginning one because there's less choices. Unfortunately, what happens to me with less that is that I feel like I don't have everything I need. And that's okay. That's just the fact that I'm accustomed, old style to do things a bit differently. And so I need to go find where the new things are. And that's just what's been happening, but that's okay. I'll live with that. Reset my essentials. I'm going to open my links again and my character choices, and I'm going to slap them in here. And I'm just putting the ones that I really need, which is paragraphs. And then it's okay. You guys don't need, it's just me going crazy not to finding it. I always show you how to do it, but there I have the basic stuff that I need. But the important thing is that if you don't have this there, you have it here. And this is the properties box that it has everything under the sun, supposedly now. And I just forgot that to see everything under the sun, you had to click on those three dots. I was looking over here going, where is it? Where is it? It's under those three dots. You open it up and that supposedly is giving you everything that that top panel gave you, but it's not as obviously visible. So I had to remember where to find it. Okay. Oh, looks like at some point I changed in all this stuff, my text size. Or I did that. 10 and a half. Can I get away with 11? Let me try again. No, I don't think I can get away with 11. So I'm gonna leave it at 10 and a half. Seems silly, right? 10 and a half versus 11 seems like so tiny difference, but it just makes this fit or not fit. All right, so now I'm kind of happy. Let me just bring this down. Um, why did my mouse turn into an arrow, into a finger? It wasn't a finger before. Something else is. Right, I'm not sure. I think that maybe I'd like to separate this again. I don't know why I suddenly have a finger instead of an arrow. It's driving me crazy. See how I have a finger now? I don't know what I changed that gave me that finger, but I don't like that. I don't know. Let me try italic. It's like, would everyone know what that is? Because see how there's no address for Cupertino Animal Hospital? I'm like, is it so well known that everyone knows where to go, or do the people need to go and register? Or once they register, they get told where to go. But what if they don't know if Cupertino is in, Arkansas? I'm I'm thinking that that's missing here, and I saw it at the beginning, but I still think this is too much information for a flyer. But unless we get a rewrite, that's what we're stuck with. So now I'm just evening this out. This is the one that we had originally. They had a different kind of font there. See, this one says Vidica Center, Las Vegas. See, Cupertino Animal Hospital says the name Cupertino, but if you're not local, you don't know what Cupertino means. So anyway, that one kind of slightly bugs me. But I don't know where, I don't know the address yet. I could, of course, look it up, but then I couldn't, I'd have to ask the client, hey, do you want your address there? I can't just assume. If I did want the address, it wouldn't be there either. It would be kind of down here in the bylines, with register here. Now, I'm going to wait until you guys are all kind of caught up and tell me you're okay. And then I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay. And give me big ol' yeses if you're kind of here. I'm going to play around meanwhile on some of this text to see if I can give it a bit of a different, I don't know what other options. Wow, this, why did I suddenly get this finger? It's not letting me select as normal. What is this? It's not allowing me to just go in there. I don't like that. I go to text and it becomes a finger again, and then it can't. I don't know. This is horrible. I'm trying to select everything and it doesn't let me go click in and out. Error. Okay, now it did. I've never seen this finger before. What is that? Anyway, let's see if there's another choice. There's no condensed. I'm going to save where I'm at, and I'm going to just play around with this a little bit. I'm going to I'm condensing the space in between all the text to then see if I can make my font a bit bigger in that same space, right? Which is something I thought maybe I'll try with this. Might be a bit harder to read. Let me try. If I go back to having this be 12, but then I condense the space a little bit. Oh, condense it down here. Can I get it to be? I'd have to compare this box to the one I had before to see which one reads better, but I was able to get 12 points to fit instead of 10 and a half by taking away space in between letters, which then might make it harder to read depending on the font you have. But if it isn't harder to read, then maybe that's a good solution to have a bit bigger font. See how now this seems big in comparison to that, whereas before it was smaller? So I'm going to go ahead and copy this and put it down here so I can compare them. I'm just compare them. That's all I'm doing while you guys are catching up. And oh, looks like most of you did catch up. I don't see Saul, but maybe you just didn't give me a yes. And then I'm going to bring this back to 100% and 10 and a half, which is what I had. I'm going to compare how readable, and it's kind of hard, that was to this. I need more white space. I'm going to copy these two. And I'm going to move these out of the way, and I'm going to paste them here. So is this more readable than that? See what I'm doing? This is the same exact size of box. This one is 12 points. This one is 10 and a half points. But in this one, I compressed the space. And I need to do this one and that one and decide which one's more readable. I'm torn. This one seems more readable, but since it's smaller, I don't know. Do you guys have an opinion? And remember, this is going to be, you have to kind of make it be the size it'll be once you look at it as a flyer, but do you guys have an opinion about which of these two is easier to read?
I kind of think the top one's easier to read.
Okay. And you might not know which is which, so that's good. Saul, Moni, do you have opinions? Amy says this one's easier to read.
I actually like the bottom one better.
What's that?
I said I actually like the bottom one better.
Okay, but
Yeah,
that's
it's probably
but that's
subjective.
neither one is right or wrong. This is an opinion,
Yeah.
right? Saul, do you have a tiebreaker? Okay, I have an opinion too, but
Well, to be honest, for just a flyer that is 9 by 6, it's too much information.
yeah, but
And most of the time, the customers, they don't want to read that much information. They would like to learn the seminar.
I hear you. And we, as a designer, have to tell that to our client, right? And they have to bring us, say, okay, yes, and bring it down. But right now, I'm just working with the design, the material I was given. Then you present it to the customer and you go, see, this is just too much. Can you please bring this down? Or I try to make it fit and that makes everything else get small. So you explain it to them. But let's assume that this is what the flyer has to have. It's up to you to convince the client and make sure that they really get what you're trying to say. But I'm working within the constraints that we have, and just on a completely subjective basis, which one of these would you think is easier to read? And we got one vote for each. So Saul, do you have a vote?
Yeah, I think the top one reads better than the bottom one.
Okay. So here's what I'm gonna say. 99% of the time, yes, the original font is gonna read better. Because this is the designer designed it this way. The designer chose how much space, how much whatever it would be to be a good reading. So by messing up with the proportions here, which is good to do for a headline or good to do for, like register here, whatever, it's not such a good idea to mess around with the body of the text. Because whatever we do is gonna usually mess it up a little bit. Now, if we had more space, which we don't, and you have a lot of text, one good idea is to add a bit more space between the lines, right? Then it becomes a little bit easier to read. This is all so much text, but if you do add some more space, then it's even easier. But we don't have that. We don't have that space, right? So we can't do that. So yeah, no, I completely agree. With you. By the way, so that this is too much text, and we kind of mentioned it from the beginning. But given the constraints of this, and sometimes you do have clients who won't hear you and go, "No, every single one of those words needs to be there," then there you go. But so much nicer would it be if I could do a bit of like that, right? But we don't have the space to do that. So I would just change the whole design, but within that, otherwise, here we go. This is what we ended up with. Do you guys have, go ahead and give me screenshots of what you ended up with. I want variations. Hopefully you ended up with something. I mean, I need to do the instructors thing here. Maybe you ended up with something different, and I'd be happy to see a plan B. I designed within the original flyer and did my best that I could. I don't like this being and so thin. Now it's mixing up with this text. So now I'm going to put it back into italic, semi-bold italic. Yeah, that still looks a bit more like a title now. Might make this, since it's kind of more important, I might make this a bit bigger. We have the space, right? Because over here, it won't throw us into the second line. So I don't know how important this is. And if so, does this make sense? And then I'd have to move everything down again. Maybe a bit of that, but not so much. And then this down there. I really, the one thing I don't like a lot here is the Cupertino Animal Hospital. It's not right, the correct information. Now, one thing that's bugging me here, see how register now and hands-on are a little bit off? That's really not good. You see that? Those are the things at the end you need to look at. That and that, no good. So I turn on my margins and I discover what's off. Is it this or that? And I discover this is off, that is off, and this is off. So there's quite a few things that are off. So I'm going to go grab this one and have it snap into the margins. I'm going to grab this one and have it snap into the margins. And this one and snap it into the margins. And now I have all of them on the same margin. And then over here, I wanted to make sure that this one is on there. Now this one is on that line, but these two need to kind of match, even though one is bigger and smaller. So you want to center these to each other and to the blue box. So make sure that they're centered in the blue box if you did this. And now let's do the instructors thing, which might mean I need more space there again. I had forgotten. Maybe we don't need the instructors thing, but it might really matter to know who these people are. These might be people who are truly, who teaches it makes a difference. So I'm putting the end of this circle to the end of this DMV there. That's about right. And now I have a bit of space here for that instructors. So let's grab a text box and let's pull out a text box and write the word instructors, uppercase. I'm going to make it my good old by Jamjari. Maybe I'll make it be bold. And this one can be smaller. We'll see if that works because it's not in the spot right now, but if this works, I'll bring it over here. Yeah. And now I'm just gonna pull it, maybe it doesn't need to be bold. I'm not sure if I like it bold. Maybe there's a semi-bold. Do I have a semi-bold? Yeah, I have a semi-bold. That's better. All right, and then I need to, once again, change the positioning of this text box, which drives me again to figure out on this one, where is it? Where did I change? Where's the position? Maybe switch back to my classic view to see if I can find it there, because where's my angles? Right there. Rotate counterclockwise. So I have that, which I know where it is in this mode. I have no idea how to find in the essentials mode. Where could it be? There's nothing hiding there, is there? No. Ah, that's where it would be. Yeah. That's where it would be, at the top, where it's got the sizes and the transform. Okay, so here it is. And then I just moved it one counterclockwise right there. And now I can move it in. Turn this off. And looks like I can make it smaller. This doesn't need to be so legible in a sense that it, oh, wrong box. Now, the thing that's a limitation here is that I like teaching showing with bleed. And since this was for email, I didn't show you with bleed. But remember, if this had bleed, these boxes are the only things that would bleed. They need to go out of bounds. Since this is for the flyer, we've had them in, but if this would be something that needs to be both, you would create it with bleed and then get rid of it. Okay, so here I put the instructors kind of somewhere in the middle between two. I'm going to zoom in and head over here. And I'm going to make some lines. So here I have a line tool. I'm going to click and drag. And it's hard to know exactly how to make a line perfect. So if you hold a shift key, then it will be only straight. Like here, you'd have to make sure that you're making a straight line. But if you hold the shift key, it can only be either perfectly vertical or perfectly horizontal. See that? So that's what you do. All right. Now, it's going to come out the size of whatever I have set up here as a stroke. So for now, I'm just going to do it and hold down the shift key. Maybe like that. And then I'm going to make it skinnier. So I'm going to go over here and make it maybe half a point, maybe 25. I think half a point works. And I know we're off by a few minutes. So, and then I'm going to make another line and do that. F, 2 points. Point there. You have to zoom in a lot to make sure that they're exactly right. Okay. And once you have both of those two, you can group them. Zoom down, and then you can copy that and paste it. Bring it down here. Whoops, not the instructors, but the box. I'm gonna have to go in this and move it back. Ah, my zoom thing is in the way. So I'm gonna put the instructors down. And so then I can grab this group and drag it over here, making sure it's parallel. And then in the same place, just flip it. So, and if we don't know if it's on the same line, we bring out a guide and we hold it and it's almost in the exact same spot. 1 pixel off. And then I get rid of the guide. And Command O and W And now I look at the whole thing and I think it's a little bit too high. So I'm going to select these two guys plus this, group it. And now I can down a little bit until I like it. There we go. Yeah, I could do without, I have to admit, that instructors thing, but trying to honor I think instructors needs to be smaller, but anyway, for now, there you go. That's your flyer. And we're a few minutes by now, 5 minutes past the hour. So I still don't like this at all. Like, I completely agree with Sybil. This is no good, but it's what we have. And if we could take 1/3 of it out, if it didn't matter what it said, and we could take about this much out, this is one internal sentence there that I'm taking out. Let me see. Extra setting. I'm going to cut this out. Oops, I didn't get the right from topics. Setting. Clearly, you can't edit this way, right? You have to edit correctly, as in, then look at how much nicer the space would be, and I'd be able to bring this in, and just white space is very important. And I'd be able to make a little bit of more space in there, or I could just bring up the font size, so what a difference that makes, right? White space is important. The flyer, the reason I don't like this design is that this flyer it's crowded. If this weren't so big, then we could then make these a bit smaller and then have more white space, and then it would be much more attractive. Anyway, I'm going to undo because that's all utopia. This is what the client has given us, and you turn it in and you say, hey, I can make it nicer if you take some lines off, and then you have that conversation with them. Okay? Screenshot. I mean, ideally you have the conversation with them before you've designed it, because then I might just change the design completely, right? But worst case scenario, that's the conversation that we need to have. Okay. How are we doing? Now, if this were a longer publication, which was I'll teach you in the newsletter and our magazine class, we'll talk much more about setting styles, because if this had to be repeated for many pages for, like if this was one page out of, 45, you wouldn't be setting each text bold, half, whatever. You would just be creating like headline style, subheadline style, paragraph style, bold style, name style, quote style. And then you would go, okay, I want this to be that style, and you select it and you press your style. So, it would be much more automatic. But when you have one thing and that's all you're doing, might as well just format it, right? Anyway, just thought I'd add that as a comment, because yeah, that's how it works. And I'm going to share you one more thing really quickly. So here's, I'm going to put this one to the side. Here, I'm going to show you in a minute what I'm doing. I'm resizing the original one that we had worked with. Let me share the one that we were working from. Okay. It isn't yet the same size, but it gives us an idea. Okay. So it's not exactly the same, but there you go. So this is what we had, and this is what we came up with. See how much more space the original one had? It's basically the same information, but it has space, it has air. So however much I like or not like this design, it still looks better than this, because this is just crowded. Okay. But other than that, it's as good as it can be to imitating the style and the design. If this is a style that you have a ton of different flyers on and you need to keep it with it, you create a template and you do your best with the information that you have. Versus this one, which is the one that got created instead. And okay, granted here, it's a bit smaller proportion than it would be, it'd probably be like, it's not letting me. That's maybe more proportional to what the size it truly would be. So between that and this, of course, here I can't show it to you without the lines, so I'm showing you with lines or that. I still think, however small this text is, that this is much more attractive than this one, right? To me. But whoever designed this one wasn't such a good designer, but the whole point here was to learn how to create things and make things and not right now to get the biggest design. But yeah, this calls my attention much more. It's the same use of, you know, blues and whites and colors like that, but it has the power of diagonal lines bringing you in and your eyes just want to go whoop and read it, right? Versus this, which is just like text, but it's what we had and it's not bad. How are you guys doing? Did you create your final flyers, your final screenshots? Let me remind you, I'm going to put in the chat again in case you don't have it, the link to the Padlet. Let's go ahead and do that. But if you need to go, you can do it later. I don't want to keep you here much later, but it would be nice if you could put all this up into the Padlet. I'm seeing there, oh, good. I'm seeing Saul's. I like that. So you did, okay. So Saul put the logo at the top left. Okay, he used red. He added another color. Super instructors. Oh, I'm not sharing, sorry. But I mean, you guys can see it yourselves probably, but let me go show that I'm showing the oh, there's a page. So I'm showing, this is Saul's design. And remember, I was encouraging that you kind of figure out your own versions. The 3 images put one on top of the other. Remember, we had been given some other images, so you chose to use a different one of those versions. Cupertino Animal Hospital, August 24th. Okay, here I don't agree with this because the space and the date should have much more separation because they're 2 distinct pieces of information, okay? So here I would give it a lot more space. That's just a comment. Hands-on library seminar, since if it's one word. It wasn't a hands-on or a laboratory seminar. So here I'd actually have less spaces. So I'd put less spaces here and more spaces there, even though it's nice to have it balanced, but this is one line and it doesn't read as one line if you make space, okay? You know, if you don't, Saul always takes my comments and then comes up with a much better things. So I'm just giving this and as concepts to think of. But anyway, and then these 3, I would balance them out with that space. So that space is really tiny right there. Then you have big space, big space. So if you have these 3 stacked upon each other, I would have less white space here and a bit more space up and top in the bottom. Okay, just to give it a bit more. Now, I understand though that you wanted that line maybe to be with that line. If so, then just nudge it down a bit more and nudge this one up a little bit more. And then you can have that line be the comments. All right, the instructors, I like that. Register now. I am kind of minimalist about colors and I might want to have kept it in blue, but what I don't like isn't that, but the fact that this is red upper lowercase and this is red uppercase. So if you're gonna use something that calls your attention like that, that's different than the rest, how about make it be both one or the other, right? So that it becomes less busy. Also here you have text that's serifed and text that's sans serif right there and serif there. So I'm just thinking you need to clean up those differences and then it looks great. I like the layout and everything. I just wanted to make sure to the different font styles in the same place doesn't work. And by the way, sans serif is much easier to read than serifed fonts. So if you are considering that you're going to end up with small fonts, then definitely this is a cleaner look than serifed fonts, okay? Saul, anything you want to say or comment? I hope you're there. Everything I've been saying, if you
No,
oh,
not really. I'm just working on it. All the details that you just wanted to change, I'm working on it. I'm just making something else way better than this one.
oh, good, good, good. No, I didn't know if you suddenly you weren't there, and I'm like, I might,
Oh,
but
no.
it's not that Moni and Amy couldn't learn from it, but I'm just trying to show you things that stand out to me. Again, what doesn't stand out to me on yours nor on mine is that there's no white space, and that kills me. But that is not your issue. It's the problem that there's just too much information, and we're working with that. All right, let me see Amy's. All right, Amy, you did a closer copy, so to say, not copy, a closer to my design version. I like that. And the, try to make it bigger and it jumps to the side. Hold on, I'm just can't let it a bit bigger, not so much bigger. The only concern I have here again, which was my initial concern with Shelley's first one, is that this blue, white text over blue, at least in this JPEG screenshot, seems like it's becoming hard to read. I don't know if it looks that way in yours. I put text in mine too that's that way. I'm gonna go check it in my I haven't uploaded mine and to see if that's an issue of just having JPEG'd it and put it up here or not, right?
I was
And then
gonna
over
ask
here,
if we were gonna do PDFs or not.
oh,
So
yes.
I would have been curious to see how that
Oh,
worked,
you're
but
totally right. You're right. Let me do that.
okay.
Let me have us do that really quickly. Sorry. And I didn't do the
Okay.
packaging, but another comment to register, please contact. I would make it a bit clearer, maybe just with bold or another color or whatever it would be, that this is the registration information. Otherwise, it kind of blends in. I like that you broke this into 2 paragraphs, so that definitely
3.
helps.
Yeah, I didn't want to, based on your
1, 2,
comment
oh, and
before, I just
so
thought I
3
would only
paragraphs
work
is
with that.
much easier to read than than one big block of text. Okay, so this
Yeah.
is a great idea. Great solution there.
I
Okay,
would
awesome.
advise to a client to do bullets. That's what, yeah, that's one thing we can do is ask them to do a bulleted list.
Let me reshare my screen so that I can show you the really good, oh, wait, Moni just puts hers on before I go and show you PDF. Let me really quickly see this one.
I think mine is basically like everyone else's.
No, there you go. I like that you made this blue instead of black. I wasn't liking mine and I like it better in blue, actually. I like your font. My font is kind of contrived when you have so much text. Kind of having a simple straight font, I think works better than mine, which was a little bit of a funky font. The more space you have, the more you can play with design. When you don't have space, you got to go straight, right? So in fact, I like this clean font better than my font. I did like a lot what Amy did with this big old block of paragraph. So maybe we can try that one to make it better. And yeah, I don't know if this is better, more readable because I'm going to make it bigger or not, or what, but this is readable here versus I couldn't read it in the other one so well. But the rest, yeah, let me show you what you asked for. Where's my InDesign? And I know I need to go and you guys need to go, but yeah, let me show you that. Now I have to. Now that was such a good idea that I have to. Where was it? Top.
Oh, well, it's everywhere that, the other one where they did 2 spaces after the period. Oh, yeah, the course
I
means,
don't know. Anyway, thing
yeah,
is, of course, that means I need to go smaller. So anyway, we'd have to
Yeah.
play around with that, right? But yeah, whatever. Let's assume that this is a solution, even if it's a bit too small now. I mean, 9 points is small, but between 10.5 and 9 points with these spaces, I buy it. I totally buy it. This is much better. Look at that. It's small, but look at that. Just space, white space. Okay. Little bit of white space in there makes things readable. Okay. Let's make this into a PDF. File. And notice that most people think that these things are under Save As, and if you go under Save As, you find that the only things you can save it as InDesigns, right? Versions of InDesigns. So it's not a Save As, because people who use Word or all those kind of things, PDF is always Save As. Here you need to export it. Okay, so we're going to export this design, and we're going to export it in. I got the Zoom stuff in the way. Move this out of the way. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and export it, and then over here it says Adobe, but it gives me interactive or print, right? So if we want it to be a print, we would go with that one, but it would go at the highest resolution, 300 and all that kind of thing. If we put it interactive, we're clearly going for web only. You wouldn't print an interactive one. How can you press a button on a piece of paper? So interactive is kind of synonymous always also with going to screen. Things that change is the resolution at which they'll set the photographs and stuff like that. And what we didn't do here is make the email interactive. In fact, the email clickable, but we'll leave that for the newsletter then. Okay, so when you say that, export to interactive, the choices are different that had we said the other one, right? Because it's quite different. I don't want all pages, because remember I made a second page to show you all stuff. So in this case, I just want to make sure to remember that I don't want all pages, and I want just one-to-one, my first page. Export as pages, spread as pages, because see, they were, but having 2 pages, I kind of have to make these choices. I don't want to create separate files because I only have one. I just want to ignore the second one, just one-to-one. And then the rest, in this case, we don't need to create any other choices. This is all good. Compression is what I want to show you. See how it says resolution PPI 72, JPEG lossy, medium, or whatever. At most, if you want the photos that are truly important to you to be really clear, you might make a bit less compressed or something like that. In this case, the photos aren't the most important part of it, so medium is fine. And that's it. So then we'll say export. It's warning you that you're working in CMYK, that it's going to go ahead and turn it into a RGB, which is it needs. So if I don't want that, I have to change that. I'm fine with that. I'll say okay. And here you go. Here's my PDF. If I go to Bridge, then over here I can look at the file sizes, and there's my PDF right there. Okay. If I double click on this, it'll probably open in Acrobat. Yep, my Acrobat is kicking open because I'm in Bridge. And there you go. Here's my PDF. Now, what I don't like about this is that we didn't have the original images. We just copied from a flyer that was sent to me, and see how unclear the logo is and how kind of fuzzy the pictures are, because we didn't have it, versus this one's a bit better because we had it. These were just kind of copying from a flyer and pasting, which worked for us right now, but it isn't necessarily the best. Let me show you the difference really quickly, and then we're done. Had I exported this as a PDF, and I'm going to change as a PDF for print. So I'm just going to write for print, because otherwise it'll override because it's the same name. Then you get all of just many other choices. I'm going to still say one only, range 1-to-1, page, because that's the only thing that's different. But then here you get the compression. That's the default compression here will be 300 instead of 72, because it knows it needs to print. It'll give you a JPEG, but it'll go to maximum quality because, again, it knows it needs you to print, so it compresses it less. Does that make sense? That's the big difference between one or the other. It also tells you if you want marks and bleeds, stuff that since we didn't do here, we're going to ignore. Normally you might do just crop marks or something like that, but we don't have that right now, so we don't care. It's just, I wanted to show you that difference, what it does with the compression. It knows that it needs to print versus it knows that it doesn't need to print. All right, and when I export that one, if I go now to Bridge, I'm gonna double click on this one. Whoops. Hi, you had just opened in Acrobat. look at how much nicer the quality of my logo and the quality of my photos. See that? I don't know if you can tell the difference, but now my text is really sharp and my 3 photos are really sharp. You can mainly see it in the logo from before or after. Here's my export for print. Look at the logo. Look at the photos. They're all blurry.
We're seeing your bridge for some reason.
Oh, I didn't, because I've never shared the Acrobat with you before. Sorry, because I just opened Acrobat. Let me add Acrobat now. I'm sharing all these different windows. Okay, so Acrobat. So here I have the export for print. Look at what's happening to the logo. Because it wasn't really a logo. If this had been really a logo, it would have been like text. That does fine. But since it was a photograph, it really messes up the text and the logo. And see how my photos, I don't know if you can tell, but they're all pixelated and weird. This is my export for interaction at 72 ppi. The for print that I did at 300 ppi, look at how nice, even though it's a photo, look at how well you can see that and how sharp and clear the photos are, right? So you have to weigh that, and you can do for interactive, but then instead of 72, maybe give it 150 ppi or 200 ppi just to make the images look better. The text all worked fine versus on the JPEG, the screenshot you guys did, the text goes all weird because it's pixelated, but in a PDF, the text is not pixelated, so you can read it just fine. Okay. Can you see that difference between this and this? Is it obvious enough? That's the 72 ppi and this is the 300 ppi. That said, it makes the file much bigger, right? So if it matters to you, which it would if you're going to email it and file size matters, then you might need to consider that's a, let me just look and see file sizes. I'm opening my, wow. Sorry, I need to ignore that. That's my dentist. That was that big Star Wars thing. That was my phone. So let me share, probably don't have this shared with you, my Finder window. Here's my PDFs. Let me go and get them by kind. That way I get all my PDFs together. Here's my NuBit Flyer for print is 412 KB and NuBit Flyer is 95 KB. So this is the one that was saved as internet, and this is the one that is saved for print. It might not seem much, but a 400 KB document for in the internet will take longer to load than a 95 for sure. But since this isn't really the internet, you're sending it as an email, I think that you can get away with sending the big one. It's not a size that will be a problem from email, and you'll get a much better resolution on the photos and prints. Okay, I'm way over time. You guys have to go. I have to go. I hope to see you next Friday in the newsletter class. And if you can't, you can't. But hopefully you can sign up for the last one, the digital magazine, to help it happen. And if you can come to it, even better. A lot of the times,
Is that one in person?
yeah, those 2 are in person.
That's great. I'm excited to do the in-person one. I don't know about the schedule for the one after, but I'm already signed up for
Okay,
the newsletter.
please sign up for the other one too. The thing is that if people who are only online people want to take it, I'm willing to set up a Zoom and have people who can't come in still take it, because I really need as many people as I can. And so I'm just going to do that. Okay.
So I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So I took your class before, and I do find for me, because working on my computer and also when you show things on your computer, I can see it so much more closely. I mean, I live really close, so I'm willing to go also to the Wake Center. So what would, okay.
If you're the only one who's on Zoom, maybe I'll say, okay, come in. But if I send an email, say, guys, I'll still set up a Zoom. Which technically.
Well, I can just come to
And
the
I
first
can
one
set
and
it.
see, and just see how it is.
So, bye. So yeah, check it out and see. Do you have a laptop though? Or a desktop?
Well, I have both. So my laptop is Mac and my desktop is PC. And so I've been doing everything on the PC just because I have two screens and it's bigger and, so I
Well,
can do either.
if you want to try it in person with your Mac, do that.
that's-
And if that doesn't work, then yeah, I can set up a Zoom, which technically is
I mean, I'll just come in.
that or
I'm-
have it classes cancel, right? So anyway,
Yeah, no, I'll just plan on coming. And then if there are a few, then we can deal with the Zoom. So for right now, I'll just
perfect.
it's simple, more simple.
Next week, the class is a bit shorter. It finishes at 1 instead of at 1:45.
Okay.
Okay.
And I possibly might be a little late just because of taking my daughter to school. So
Don't worry. Don't worry. That's fine. Thank you. Bye. It was great having you guys, and I hope to see you again. See ya.
thank you. Bye.